Right. Words can't describe how fortunate I am to have this man on right now. Honestly, you were one of my favourite Sunderland players back in the day. I can't believe it. Honestly, can't believe it. Anyway, guys, welcome to a very special interview here on SAFC Fan TV. I'm joined by former Rocket Boots of the Stadium of Light, man like Carlos Edwards. Carlos, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm ready to put my boots back on to get back promoted again. But yeah, it's all good, and a pleasure to be on the show today.
Like I was saying at the start, like that season when you went up in 2006-07 under Roy Keane, like when we signed you for 1.5 million from Luton Town, just watching your goals back over and over again. I remember taking my ball up the local park and just trying to practice strike with them, how you used to do it, and like they would end up going in like the next field. Honestly, I could never like master it, but just watching that looking up season review DVD, watching your goals, there was just something special. Honestly, I absolutely love them.
It's to be fair, it's good that you say that, because I don't think kids these days practice shooting. They just shoot for the sake of it, and it has a lot of technique into it, going into shooting, making sure. The basic thing is to hit the target. Yeah, because you don't hit the target, it's a waste of time. You do the hard work, like beating one or two men and stuff, but that's when you need the composure. And if you look at, obviously, some of my goals, obviously, yes, some might have been deflected or something, but the whole objective of it was just hit the target. That's all you need, because if you do hit the target, the keeper can do either two things. He can parry it into a teammate who's running in for a rebound, tap it in. He can tap it around the corner for a throw-in or a corner. And in return, from that resulting corner, whatever it is, you might just happen to score in a set piece. So saying that, it's good in a nutshell. Just hit the target. That's all I say. And obviously, Roy used to instill that in us all the time. He used to be, mate, steam used to be coming out his ear.
Yeah, a very happy birthday to Mr. Keane as well, as we're recording.
Oh yeah, exactly. Happy birthday to the gaffer. Hope he's smiling. No, he doesn't really smile much. But
he doesn't, does he?
Yeah. Hope he's smiling today for some reason. Yeah. But he used to instill that in all the players. Just hit the target. It doesn't matter if the keeper saves it or not. At least it was on target, And it just so happened that on that Friday night, it just was really on target.
Yeah. I mean, we'll come to that legendary Friday night in a bit, but the technique you use, just like striking a football, did that come naturally, or was that something you used to like practice after training every single day at the academy?
I never used to practice my technique, because sometimes a rush of blood, like in games, you might be absolutely knackered and you really don't have time to think about technique, knee over the ball, don't lean back, lean forward. So you ain't got that time. But at the same time, you just want to relax your body a bit. And maybe, I think most of your shot is you got a nice follow through, or sometimes you can ping a ball and not have a nice follow through, just like golf. The follow through sometimes is, with a golf club, it's sometimes perfect on the green, in that way. So it's just similar to the football. Obviously, you don't want to be too lean back, because obviously the ball might go over the moon and back, in that aspect. But I never used to practice my technique. I used to practice just trying to hit the target, finding the corners, or, trying to get it as low as possible, because the lower the ball is to the keeper, it's much more difficult for him to save. So, I used to do that. But in a way, you did touch on it. Maybe I was a bit too naive to practice my technique, but it is essential to practice that technique, similar to practicing set pieces. You practice, because there might be a time that in a free kick, for example, one of Kieran Richardson's free kick against the Geordies, he absolutely just smashed it on top. Yeah. So it's like that. Just hit the target with as much power as possible. It wasn't no whip it over the wall into the top corner. It was like, I'm going to take one of you out the wall, or the keeper is going to be, smashed. And he did just that. So I think practicing your technique is very essential.
Yeah. And what I liked about you especially was you were not afraid to use both feet. I mean, that's a question I'm going to put forward to you now, Carlos. What foot even are you? Like, what is your stronger foot?
I'm right-footed. I'm actually right-footed.
Some of the lefties you scored, mate, I tell you.
You know what? I did. But at the same time, because it's my weaker leg, most of it, sorry. Yeah, it's all right. Most of it, you just want to have a swing, right? You just want to have a swing at it. But at the same time, you want to make sure that, as I said before, hit the target. That's all you need to do. And I did practice a lot with my left foot, because on either side, you want to, as a winger, you got to try to operate on either side, because there are going to be times that you are in a sticky position. You got to use your left foot, And I think as the years went by, as I started progressing, the higher I went to the level, I started more using my left foot. There are times that in training, I might just try to use my left foot, even dribbling or passing 90% of the times, because I know obviously my right foot is a stronger foot, but I will always try to be strong on my left. But I never used to practice much shooting. But the longer you go, by having more ball mastery and more control, you get confidence with dribbling with it and shooting. So instantly is that if you send me inside and I see a shot open for goal, I wouldn't be scared to have a shot with my left foot.
Now, obviously, 2020 has been like a really dark time for football. Now, obviously, we've seen clubs where players are slowly starting to like come back into training, like particularly in the leagues that Sunderland are being in, getting ready for the new season. How have you found lockdown yourself with you and your family?
To be fair, it has been a bit of a pain in the butt, but at the same time, it's it gives you that time to kind of reflect on a lot of things, and relax and spend time with the family, because since I finished playing, I was still busy in terms of like coaching, doing a bit of coaching, and sometimes I'm out all day. So it's like the missus don't get to see me. The kids are like, sometimes by the time I get back, they're in bed. They only see me sometimes in the morning when they get up to go to school, and so that time was a bit good to reflect. I mean, even though there's still the summertime for them and they're still home, and I'm ready for them to go to school, but but it was good in a way. But after a while, it gets a bit too much, because it's not to say that you're in lockdown and you can do certain things. You just kind of doing the same thing over and over, and you're like, oh, when is this going to end? But as I always tell people, for this to end, us individuals, the population, the people around the world needs to obey whatever rules that is put in place, because without doing the things that they ask, it wouldn't go away. So there are some people who's very ignorant and naive to the situation, and question certain things, but it's for the betterment. It is frustrating. Don't get me wrong, but the longer we don't do certain things, is the longer that us, myself and you, wouldn't be able to go support or to watch football, because we like to watch it on telly with a bloody empty stadium.
Yeah, I'm sick of it now. I just want to see the fans back in. Like, I want to see the atmosphere. I mean, the crowd noises. Yeah, it's a good added bonus, but there's times where it's not working right. Like, it would take a few seconds for the noise to come in, and it'll just even
when they had the football on telly, like there were games that I wanted to watch, but then I watched 20 minutes and I was like, change it to another channel, because it's not entertaining. It's the players are entertaining, but it's not much entertainment without the fans. The fans bring that extra excitement when you hear them roaring and abusing the players, or having a go at the referee or something like, even though it shouldn't be, but that's part of it.
How's things going for you at Woodbridge Town right now?
It's going really well. It's going really well. We started back doing 2 days a week training about 3 weeks ago, and had a couple pre-season games. We had one Saturday, one the previous Saturday before. So things are looking all right. It's looking up really well. But again, as you know, I know that it's just a matter of time. I think the lower league clubs and is the one that suffers the most. And without the fans, even though it's 200-300 fans, whatever comes to support, it's for Woodbridge Town. That's like 40,000-50,000 people in a stadium, and it brings a bit of revenue to the club. But we are hoping that something could change, that as we discussed before, that the fans could actually come back into the stadium and just help out.
Hopefully, like, the right safety measures will be in place for next season.
Yes, exactly.
In terms of like coaching, like a couple of players now, when they go back, like their fitness and stamina might be there in terms of like running on the training pitch, or even if you're allowed to like practice in the stadium itself. But in terms of like ball control and like technique with a football, it feels like that they've lost a lot of that in the time off they've had. And it's all about, I think, I know a few people who are football coaches now, bringing that technique back and like players rediscovering it.
Yeah, because it's all well and good to do a bit of personal training on your own, but then you want that little competitiveness when you're on the training ground. You want to kick one of your mates or something like that, put in a tackle game to have a nice little crunching tackle, so you want that back, because the body needs to be back to that, getting used to getting a bit of smash and bash. But it's all well and good in your back garden or wherever you go to do a little training, but you need that physicality side of it too. So when the football really starts, that you up and ready, But I'm glad to see that most clubs are actually back into training, and obviously the contact is there, with the still a little bit of social distancing and certain things that you do when it comes to training and stuff. But it's good that the contact side of it, it's there again, because that's what the players need, and that's what they were lacking. Yeah,
of course. Right, Carlos, I'm going to take you back to January 2007 now, when you signed for the lads, $1.5 million from Luton Town. What was the influence that Roy Keane gave you to come up to the Northeast, all the way up from Bedfordshire?
It wasn't even Roy, to be fair. Well, from what I heard, partly Roy, partly Dwight. I remember I was still at Luton. I think it was just before Christmas. We played Sunderland at the Stadium of Light. We lost 2-1.
I was at that game.
Yeah, I think we scored first. We scored early, and then obviously I think Dave Connolly scored a penalty.
Yeah, Mike Newell was Luton's manager, wasn't it, back then?
Yes, he was. Yeah, and I think Luton had a really good game. We had a good game, and obviously even though we lost, I spoke to Dwight after the game, and Dwight was like, "You fancy coming to Sunderland?" And then obviously I wouldn't say no, because it's a step up, and then I'm getting to play with one of my guys that I play with at Trinidad. Dwight is like a hero to a lot of us players, younger players. And I was like, yeah, but I never actually thought anything into it would have happened.
And of course, Stern came after that as well, isn't it?
Yeah. And then after Christmas, obviously we played, and Dwight said to me, this was his word, he said, "Leave it with me. I'll speak to the gaffer." I said, "All right." I just left it there, thinking I ain't going to hear from Dwight in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
So he decided to speak to Roy, and obviously Roy was in the transition side of things, bringing in new players, because he wanted to bring in who he thought would have made a better the team and the club.
A lot of his Irish connections, wasn't it? Anthony Stokes,
exactly. So what he did, Luton played Cardiff on New Year's Day. It was a Monday, and we drew 0-0. After the game, I was driving home, and my agent phoned me, and his word was, "Tomorrow you need to go up to Sunderland to do a medical." And my face was like, "What?" Like, I'm thinking, mate, I just came from there about a week and a half ago. Like, why are you telling me? And I actually did have nothing. So he just said, make sure that he's in Liverpool. I'm in Hampden. because I used to live in Harpenden, and he said, you need to be up in Sunderland, like, you know, by 12 o'clock. And I was thinking, you crazy.
Zooming up that A1.
Oh yeah, exactly, mate. Got up there, sat nav, drove up there, saw Roy. Roy was like, this is it, blah, blah, blah. You know, he spoke to me, he told me what his plans were, what he was looking for. And, you know, he didn't really have to say much, because I knew as soon as I passed that medical that I was ready for business. Did the medical, and trust me, I had to drive back to London to get my stuff, to drive up again on the Wednesday to start training on the Thursday. I don't think I've ever made that trip like that in my life before. Like, I was like, but as soon as I went into the changing room, saw guys, obviously it had big egos, big guys obviously played there.
Yeah, a lot of characters in that dressing room.
A lot of characters, yeah. And this is me, I'm just Carlos Edwards, you know, like, come from Luton, like, okay, Sunderland, you know. But you know what? The boys really took to me. You know, Dino, Whitehead, Dino was a captain, Nugsy, you know, all these boys, like, we gelled straight away. And I knew straight away that there was something special about the group. And Roy got rid of who he wanted to get rid of, and he brought in like the likes of Anthony Stokes and these boys. And you know, and after that, I didn't think we ever looked back. Yeah, we had, I think, one or two little holes in the road going along for the championship, but we never looked like, I think the title was ours to lose.
Yeah. Like
the way that we went about it, I think anyone at that time could have got beaten. Like, we would have absolutely steamrolled anyone.
Taken game by game and then working.
Yeah. And that's what Roy used to do. Like, we never used to study 2-3 games. Oh, who's next after this game? We used to study, okay, this game, let's get this sorted. When this is sorted, we move on to the next. And Roy was really good at that, because he always used to instill in us, like, he's very punctual when it comes to attitude and being on time. That's
of course, time management.
He's very serious with that, and he will always tell us, like, family comes first. Like, he will never, you know, he don't like excuses. Don't make excuses at all. And I think that what made him very successful, because he had players in the changing room that he could have relied on. He never used to come in the changing room to back orders. He used to leave the changing room for the players, like the captain and the senior boys. You take charge of the changing room. And that's what Dino and the likes of Graham Kavanagh and Dwight and these boys, and they did. Like, no one could have actually slip up without getting, you know, kick up the butt.
Yeah. And I remember Roy once touched, like, he also he said this on the TV, he appreciated players who weren't afraid to also, like, have a go back at him on the training, which is what he enjoyed those characters. Obviously, we touched on characters in the dressing room that season, the likes of Nyron, Liam Miller, also God rest his soul, Stephen Elliott, Daryl Murphy, Ross Wallace, David Connolly, and also the brilliant management of Roy Keane. Have you got any, like, funny stories of how potentially one or two lads maybe, like, tried to play tricks on him and maybe, like, tried to wind him up a little bit?
He was the trickster, to be fair, in terms of
really.
But Roy was, mate. This guy was. You didn't know what Roy you were going to get on a daily basis, because he would come into training, mate. He will take the mick out of you, and then there are some days in training you're thinking, I'm not going to stand next to him, or you see him coming down the corridor, and you might end up doing a U-turn and going the other way, you know. But he always used to join in training. He loved to join in the training a bit.
That helped a lot, I reckon.
Yeah. And he never, you couldn't muck about. Like, he loves to do a bit of keep ball in the square, like keep ball. And he take that very seriously, you know, that, because he used to always say, like, how you train is how you're going to play. And he's spot on there with that. Because if you train relaxed and lazy and stuff, like, when they come to game, you're going to do the same. And he used to always get that tempo in us and stuff like. But to say how funny stories, it's how to say, it's like, oh, I think there's one time in Portugal, we were in pre-season, and I think after the training session, He's like, anyone wants to have a shot at me, right? Anyone want to have a go? 50 euros, right? If you miss, if you don't score, 50 euros. So he's got Wardy's gloves on, and he went into goal, and I think about 6 of us had shots, right? And I
like
think
that game you play in the playground. Was it bare ass at school?
Oh mate, he used to love that. The worst player or something like that, I will have to pull his trousers down and hold onto the crossbar, and everyone has a ball to smack it at you from the 18-yard box. Smack it to see if it can absolutely smash you, mate. Honestly, mate, it had some guys with some techers like Andy Reid and them boys, and them he used to absolutely. If you get one, oh mate, I think you might just end up tattooing that print on your butt because it used to be that hard, right? Yeah. And I think the only person who had scored against him was Andy Reid, and guys thought he was joking. Guys thought he was joking about the 50 euros. Mate, he absolutely kicked up a serious fuss about that 50 euros. And the guys that missed, I was one of them. I ended up had to pay him because I was like, oh mate, I'm gonna get, because this guy's gonna kill someone. I think he made about 250 euros or something like that because of guys paying him. Like, I don't think no one, because he used to always say, you guys are cheap. He had a right go. He said, you guys like to make bets and don't like to pay. And guys at one stage thought he was joking about it, but he wasn't joking. He was really serious. And in the end, the guys had to pay him the money, you know?
Mad, honestly.
Yeah. But other than that, you know, he will always let us have our time away from the football. He always like us to have team bondings outside of the football field, you know, because he says it brings a bit of chemistry, like get to know each other outside of the training ground, you know, go for a meal, go for a couple of drinks. That don't mean like you're going on the lash and stuff like, you know, just chill, you know, outside of it.
Yeah. On to that incredible Friday night now against Burnley, the game that won promotion. I think there was a goal scored in that game. Some like brilliant right foot outside the box. I wonder who that could be, but yeah. But that was the goal that won us promotion at the end. And you still had a game to go. Go into Luton Town on the last day of the season. I think was it Birmingham were away at Preston, and obviously you didn't know at that point whether I think they needed
the result
points. Yeah, and then Luton were already relegated at the time.
Yeah,
you put 5 past them, and then the celebrations began at the final whistle because we'd found out that Birmingham had dropped points. So we won the league. What sort of fit in the Luton dressing room? Obviously, we saw the images of was it Nugsy doing his dancing and What happened after that night at Luton? Did you have like a celebration party? Did you go straight back to Sunderland or?
No, we went straight back because obviously Roy liked everyone to travel. I think I think there was a couple of guys who stayed on because Nyron is originally from London. I think there was a couple of guys who stayed down but Roy is he's a guy when it comes to that. Like he wouldn't make spur the moment decision. He would rather you come like the day before to make plans to say, Gaffer, could I stay down after? Because sometimes he likes us to come into training on a Sunday to do a warm down, you know, so that everyone get fair treatment and everything. So I think there was a couple of guys who stayed down in London. Obviously, I had my family back up in Sunderland, so I traveled back. But we just enjoyed the moment in the changing room, like champagne and whatever, you know, guys getting on. But there wasn't much to celebrate in terms of, you know, we out and about, party on the bus. I think we arranged the following week or so, or during the week, to go all for a drink and a meal. And that's what we did. But we enjoyed ourselves in the changing room and obviously with the fans down at Kenilworth Road on that day, you know.
They were sitting on all sides of Kenilworth Road and managed to get tickets somehow. Yeah.
I remember I had just come back from my shoulder injury also, because I remember I'd done my shoulder for a bit and I played in that game. And I was supposed to go away on international duty the following week, right after the Luton game, and I told the gaffer, I said, "Gaffer, I don't want to go because I want to break." And he's like, "Oh, I'm going to take you off in the last 10 minutes, and I'll let the doctors say to you, like, he's injured, to the federation, he's injured, blah blah blah." And silly me, after the game, there was a picture of me hanging off the crossbar like a monkey, honestly, with one hand. And Roy's like, get down. And I was thinking, like, what is he on about? And I totally forgot to tell him, like, he's telling me, like, you're going to say you did your shoulder. And this is me just celebrating, because what else do you want me to do? Like, and I'm just swinging like an idiot, like, oh my God. And it's only after I came off the crossbar, I was thinking, shit, like, I shouldn't be doing that, Yeah, of course. But it was good. It was a really good. I mean, even though I got some boos from the Luton fans, but saying that, they congratulated me, and I said to them, I said, "Listen, it wasn't my fault." I said, "You guys sold me, so it's not that I had a gun to the chief executive head to say let me go. You guys decided to cash in for me, and the result is you guys getting relegated, where I reap the rewards by getting promoted." So
yeah, and obviously we've seen. I think you went to the Roker Hotel. You had like a parade with the trophy.
Yeah.
But I think knowing how Roy would manage, it's like, right, we've done the first bit. Now it's all about moving on to that next level. Let's not get carried away. We went up into the Premier League, and that's still one of my favourite seasons in terms of atmospheres at the stadium. Obviously, we beat Tottenham on the opening day, but in terms of you, like, it felt at that injury started to creep along, and it was so unfortunate. Like, I remember what I bumped into you in Debenhams one time. You did a signing session that season, and you were out injured, and you just looked absolutely heartbroken. It felt kept coming and going that season.
Exactly, and you know what? I had so much, anticipation, just anticipating the start of my first year in the Premier League, and I was thinking,
we're going to see a few screamers, potentially. Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Bang. And then I think it was the third game of the season against Birmingham, pulled the hamstring, went on not a worldly run. And it just happened. It just pinged. That injury kept me out for 3 months because I came back to training and I pulled up again. And then in the end, I was like, something is not wrong or not right. And Roy sent me away to get a second opinion and to see a surgeon. And the surgeon said, "Listen, just continue doing what you're doing." And that hamstring injury kept me for 3 months. And then I came back again thinking, well, right, I'm ready now, ready to go.
Yeah.
And then I fractured my leg again. And I was thinking,
because if we had you fit, because I remember Dino had a lot of injury problems at the start of that.
He did.
Yeah, I think he was ruled out. I think it was expected at first for about 6 months, and then obviously things were happening with you. And if we had that like brilliant character in the dressing room, what you and Dino could provide, we would have been even higher that season.
I think so, and I think Roy kind of panicked a bit because he went and, for me, I think it was panic buys. Obviously, yes, you do want big name players at your club because it's kind of hype everyone up, raise their eyebrows a bit. Yes, it's good. But you got to know the certain characters that you're bringing into your changing room. And he brought in one, he brought in two, and it kind of
took the spine out of him a bit.
Took a bit out of the boys who were there. And it just so happened, players were there maybe because, Sunderland, they're getting 50, 60 grand a week or whatever it is. And it's like, they're going to be playing week in, week out. And guys weren't ready to fight for that shirt. Like, it's easy to say, you're a big name player, but what actually are you justifying to say? Like, it's pride. Like, wearing a Sunderland shirt is so much pride. Like, you until you actually walk into that stadium and you see the fans and get to acknowledge the fans, then you would know. But then there were too much egos in that change room at one point that it never worked. And I would continue to say it did. And I think that was one of his biggest mistake. I mean, mistakes are there. He made genuine mistake because he wanted to maybe improve from our first year in the Prem.
Yeah.
And to be fair, he needed.
Yeah. No, carry on, carry on.
He needed to have reinforcements, but I think he just went about it. He went a bit rushing, a bit too much to bring in.
Yeah, I guess as the manager in the Prem, that's like forced upon you very quickly. You have to make
it is.
As the gaff. But obviously, one of those egos brought to the dressing room that season was your good friend Kenwyn. What did he bring that like was missing from the previous season in terms of like that sort of personality that can like really galvanize the boys?
I think when you look at the players that we had, you had Dave Connolly, you had Anthony Stokes, you had really small strikers and stuff like. And I think Roy was looking for a guy that could have bring a bit of presence. Kenwyn brought that. Kenwyn is strong. He can jump. He can head. He can,
John Terry said he was one of the toughest opponents ever to play against.
Exactly. Yeah. Kenwyn is like that. Like a ball going to head it, Kenwyn might bring it on his chest because he's got that leap in him. That so he brought that presence and stuff like. He wasn't the most vocal in the changing room, but when he's on the pitch, he's there.
Yeah.
And he brought that a bit, but then obviously things start going a bit. I think he got a bit of an injury playing for Trinidad against England.
Yeah, I remember that was live on the BBC at like a ridiculous time. I was almost in tears because we were just coming up to our second season and we needed our main striker fit, and then he got injured.
Exactly.
How so that unlucky can our club be with injuries?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that kind of, at one stage you were thinking the worst, and I think it kept him off for about 3 months, 3.5 months or so. And that, as much as it was bad, it was good because it could have been longer. And in the end, he gradually started getting back to the Kenwyn that we knew. But at the same time, other players start coming in. Yeah. And once you have those kind of other players, it was like, this is not going to last.
Yeah, personality clashes, yeah.
Oh yeah, Roy left, and that was the biggest surprise, because now you have no one to control all these egos in the changing room now. Okay, unless you bring in a manager who is not a bullshit taker, and he just will get rid of you in a heartbeat. But we had caretaker managers who were like mates with some of these players in the changing room because they coached them before in certain places and whatever. So it never worked. Absolutely never worked. And by the time other managers took charge, it was like a whole new revamped, like, everyone was off skis. I didn't want to leave, but obviously I was kind of pushed out, kind of didn't really have a choice, kind of like, all right, well, it's either you stay and just sit in the stands and be a squad player, which I didn't want to. I wanted to continue playing. I was just 31 at the time, still had a lot of years in me.
And you could play at fullback as well, so we could have needed that. Yeah.
Exactly. And obviously, when you're not someone's cup of tea, it's different, and I understand that. Managers want their players that they want to sign up, who they don't want to inherit what other managers. And in the end, I had a good chat with Niall Quinn, top bloke, really, really top.
Ledge.
And in the end, I had to make the decision based on my family and me, because I wanted to continue playing. I just didn't want to. Now, I could have sit out for the rest of my year and a half that I had or whatever, but it wasn't going to be justifiable. I would have been frustrated. I may have been a right twat in the changing room, and it's not in my nature to do that. I just wanted to play football, and once I'm playing football, I'm happy. So I was kind of like pushed to one side, and then I had to make a decision for myself and my family.
Yeah, we'd have you back now, mate. I'll tell you. Playing in League One, a few of those right foot rockets.
Don't worry, mate. I still got some boots out there in the outside bit. Maybe I can polish it up.
Honestly, I'd say but that's coming like towards the end now. When you won promotion with us back in 2000s, or like go into the time when you eventually left, did you ever think that this club will be playing in the third tier of English football?
Never.
Never.
Absolutely never. Listen, I was devastated. I was like, I didn't even want. I still can't believe it. You know, like, how is it possible? Now, anything is possible, but you don't want it to be. You know, you don't want it to be, but it is. And I said this to someone. I said, what fans fail to realize is that the longer you stay in those lower division, it's harder every year to get out of it, because other teams around you are going to be getting stronger and stronger, and the next thing you know, they're going to be catching up to your level. So the faster you get out of that division, you can breathe a little sign of relief, because we know once Sunderland goes back up into that championship, they will do really well. They will start to attract the players that they need to attract, and it's only a matter of time until it happens. But it is what it is at the present.
It's all about looking to the future, and that's going to be my final question to you today. What would your advice be to any young player who's potentially been linked with, who's considering coming up and signing for this club? Like, how would you put to them, like, the atmosphere and like the whole culture around the club, and like how much it changes your life completely, and why should you sign for a great club like this? Personally, I would think it's the noise of when you score a goal, because if someone can be right there, then it's top notch.
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, you got to have two serious pairs, a serious pair of balls, because what I would say to any youngster who's going to sign for Sunderland, which one of my ex-teammates from Millwall, Aidan O'Brien, who's just signed, that it's one of the best feelings to sign for a club like Sunderland, because you know when you get there and you walk out into that white line, the atmosphere and the stadium itself, you got no choice but to want to play your best, because the fans are nothing but the best. I think players now try a bit too hard to impress and not enjoy the football side of it. Once you enjoy the football side of it, the fans will gradually be into your DNA. It would be in, because you are giving them something to smile about, to cheer about. I'm not saying that you're going to be a 9 out of 10 every week, which if you are, mate, you shouldn't be even playing in League One. You should be in the Prem or somewhere else, you know. But saying that, you just have to make sure that you just go there, not with a chip on your shoulder, but have high expectations for yourself, because the fans will expect a lot from players who's come into that club. And I'm sure when I first came, people maybe had their doubts, but what better way to prove your doubters than in the Stadium of Light? Like, people don't see you like, no, prove them. That's what you're there for, to prove to them that you are right where you belong as one of the Black Cats. Simple as.
Carlos, mate, thank you so much for coming. This is like a dream come true for me ever since I was a little kid. Like, speaking to you, like having an in-depth conversation. You're one of my favourite Sunderland players ever. Honestly, I think you're an absolute joy. I watch your goals over and over again. I'm playing football tonight, so hopefully I can take some shots from outside the box and like
just watch the clip of the Burnley goal before you go out. You might,
yeah. Honestly, thank you so much, mate. And
listen,
we'll have to speak to you soon.
Pleasure, man. Listen, just be safe and just hit me up anytime you like.